Good morning, students. Today we are starting the topic of anemia. Definition of anemia. Anemia is defined as reduced hemoglobin concentration in the blood below the lower limit of the normal range for age and sex of the individual. What this particular line means. For example, if we take an adult. In an adult male, the hemoglobin level is 13 grams per deciliter. Okay. So there is a range. What do you mean by range? Range means there are two values. You have a lower limit and a higher limit. Here, for example, in an adult, hemoglobin for males is 13.0 grams per deciliter to 15 grams per deciliter. So here, this is the normal range. Range means there are two values. You have a lower limit and a higher limit. So, what anemia means? Anemia means a reduced hemoglobin concentration in the blood below the lower limit. So, anything below 13, like if it is 9, 10, 11, below 13 will be considered as anemia. Okay? So, this is the same for others also. In newborn also, if it's below 15, then it's anemia. 3-month-old baby, if it's below 9.5, then it's anemia. Now, if you see why newborn have 15 and 3-month-old has 9.5. A newborn, when a newborn is born, you can see that the lung has just started to grow. So, when lung has just started to grow, a lot of new changes will happen. We had already seen in the oxygen and carbon dioxide transport how carbon dioxide and oxygen require the help of the heart and the lung to do its function. So when a newborn, a baby is just born, the lung just starts growing. So it takes time. So at that time what happened? All the blood that we have, all the blood that the baby has is all oxygenated blood. So it's more oxygenated blood. So more hemoglobin. So that is why it's 15. But as the baby starts growing, so at 3 months what happens, everything becomes normal as an adult human being. So what happens, your lung is formed, your heart is formed. So during this time the hemoglobin will become less, but this is the normal, it's not abnormal. This 9.5 is the normal value. Because of active growth, the hemoglobin comes little down, but this is still normal. So if in case in MCQ they ask you, so don't mark this as abnormal. This is normal for a 3-month-old baby. Okay. In adults again, females it is 11.5. In normal pregnant women, it is 10.5. Okay. Now, why anemia occurs is a very important question. Now, these are the factors why anemia occurs. First, it can be increased requirements. This means a person requires a lot of iron. What are the cases where he'll require more iron? Is during menstruation in females. When a female has heavy periods, she is losing a lot of blood. During that time, you require even more hemoglobin, even more iron you require. Okay. Then in pregnancy, because now the mother has to take care of a fetus inside, so she has to compare two things. So she has to take care of her hemoglobin as well as the fetus's hemoglobin. Then during lactation means when she is milking, she is breastfeeding the baby. Then you have the growing infants and children. When the kids are growing, the bones are expanding. So during that time you require. Then erythropoietin treatment. Erythropoietin treatment is done in cases where the kids have bone tumors or bone marrow transplant. During that particular time we give erythropoietin treatment. Increased loss. When do you think there will be increased loss? In case of a GI bleeding. GI bleeding means in a gastrointestinal tract there is bleeding. Very common is peptic ulcer. If there is an ulcer in the stomach, see. So this is the stomach and this is your intestine. If there is any ulcer over here or ulcer over here, what happens? The ulcer will start to come out. Whenever the ulcer starts coming out, these will be the reasons for lot of blood loss. Okay, so increased loss will be there. Increased blood loss in GI bleeding, menorrhagia. What is menorrhagia? Menorrhagia means heavy periods or heavy menstrual flow. Persistent hematuria. Hematuria is you will have blood in urine. When you have blood in urine, it is known as hematuria. Okay. Then intravascular hemolytic anemia. Then you have regular blood donors. Usually you are supposed to donate blood with the interval of 6 to 7 months, and in a year you can only donate twice. Okay. If in case a person keeps repeatedly donating, what will happen? The body has 5 liters of blood. If he keeps giving little by little, what will happen? You will develop anemia. Okay. Then parasitic infection. Most common is hookworm infection. Hookworm infection is very common, especially in kids. What small kids do, they go outside, they play, and they have this habit of eating sand. Normal, they don't wash their hand, but then the sand goes inside their mouth, and most of the time it is hookworm that enters the mouth. That will grow in the large intestine, and that will lead to anemia. Now going to then there are decreased intakes, means we are eating less. Like in vegetarian diet, when we see the source of iron, I'll show you a diagram for the source of iron. You can see there are green leafy vegetables, there are legumes, there are dals, lentils, lot of these factors. But the highest source of iron you will find in non-vegetarian food, like in red meat, in liver. So you can find higher number of iron in non-vegetarian food, but it is also there in vegetarian diet, but it's still less compared to. Nowadays there is a new trend called the vegan diet. In this vegan diet, what happens? They will only eat plants or plant-based stuff and no dairy. In this, what happens? There is lot of loss of iron. So you will have very less iron. So these people they suffer from iron deficiency anemia. Then socioeconomic factors. This is a very important point. In this, what happens if you have someone who is poor, who cannot afford non-veg or cannot afford green leafy vegetables? These people, especially the poor people, if they cannot afford, these people suffer from anemia because they are not eating properly. If you don't eat properly, your body cannot have a lot of iron which is required for your hemoglobin to function. Other is decreased absorption. Decreased absorption will be due to any problems in the gastrointestinal tract. What can happen? You can have celiac disease or Crohn disease. Other is gastrectomy. Gastrectomy means they cut a particular part, like a small part of the stomach is cut out. This can be cut out because there is a tumor or there is a cancer or some like an ulcer has happened. So for that we will cut out a small part of it. That is known as gastrectomy. And this, what happens if you cut this small part, these whatever iron was absorbing in this particular area will reduce. So when the absorption area reduces, automatically you will have anemia. And there are some medicines, like if you take a lot of Gelusil or you take a lot of painkillers, so because of these things you can also have anemia. Now going to the pathophysiology. In pathophysiology you need to see it starts when the body has subnormal levels of hemoglobin. What do you mean by subnormal? This means it is little less than normal. So in this, what happens? Subnormal levels of hemoglobin causes low oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. I had already discussed before, the main function of a red blood cell is to transport oxygen. So if you have less hemoglobin, there will be less oxygen to carry. Okay. So when this happens, there's something called the compensatory physiological adaptation that happens. For example, like what is compensatory means? You have to compensate. Like someone today, 2 teachers gave you homework, and since you didn't have time, what you did, you finished one, and to compensate for the other, you got up early in the morning so you can finish up. So you're compensating yesterday's night work by getting up early today morning. Okay, so you're trying to do 2 things but at a different space, so you're trying to compensate. Now What are the compensating things that can happen? First is increased release of oxygen from hemoglobin. See, normally if you see that the diagram, alpha beta chains, you had an alpha alpha, beta beta globin, and then you had the ions. Okay, the heme was there. Okay, so increased release of oxygen. Now, during when you see this hemoglobin structure, you know that oxygen will come and bind. Oxygen will come and bind, oxygen will come and bind, oxygen will come and bind. In this, what will happen? If in case there is anemia, initial start of anemia, what the body will do, the body says we need more oxygen, we need more oxygen. So the hemoglobin will automatically give off 1 oxygen, and if in case they need more, it will give off 2 oxygen. So more oxygen will be given off because the body is now wanting. So the first point is increased release of oxygen from the hemoglobin. The next is increased blood flow to the tissue. Now, you know tissues require oxygen because they are doing all the peripheral work. So the tissues will take up oxygen and will give up carbon dioxide, which goes back to the lung to become oxygenated hemoglobin. So there will be increased blood flow to the tissues. Then maintenance of the blood volume. Now you need to know that we have around 5 liters of blood. To maintain this particular 5 liters of blood, the body has to keep making new RBCs. Now, if in case there is anemia, like for example in trauma, what happens in trauma or accident, you lose some amount of blood. Like for example, you lose around 200 ml of blood. So this loss that has happened, the body has to make up. So what it will do, it will ask the bone marrow to start making more RBCs. Okay, so more RBCs will be found. So to maintain this particular blood volume of 5 liters, the body will start making more RBCs. Okay, then redistribution of blood flow to maintain cerebral blood supply. Now you need to know the most important thing. The body's function is to make blood and is to help the brain function. The brain will only work. The brain requires 2 things. It requires blood and it requires glucose. Okay. So here what happens, if in case this 5 liter blood is not there, and again there is 200 ml of blood loss, so what will happen? Automatically the brain will stop functioning or will reduce functioning. So for example, if someone has a road traffic accident, in road traffic accident what will happen? He'll have an injury in the head. In that injury, if he loses 200 ml of blood, what the brain will do, the patient will faint or will lose consciousness. So the patient is not conscious. Okay, this means what? There is less blood supply to the brain. So the body will automatically start sending more blood. Okay, we have to send more blood. So it will start sending more blood to make the entire body function properly. So these things will happen. These things are normal things will happen when the hemoglobin level falls a little down. Okay, then because of this compensatory mechanism, the body is in a safer zone. If in case these fail, whatever these steps, even after doing, the hemoglobin still is less and anemia is still there, that time what happens? Tissue hypoxia will happen. Tissue hypoxia means less oxygen. So what will happen if tissue hypoxia happens? There will be impaired function of the tissues with high oxygen requirement. Means the tissues that require high oxygen. What are the tissues that require high? You have the heart, you have the brain, okay, you have the brain and the skeletal muscles. Okay, so these things require a lot of oxygen. So if there is tissue hypoxia, means there is less oxygen in tissue, so all these tissues will be affected. So what will happen? The heart rate will come down, the brain, you will have headaches, you can faint. Okay, and muscle, what will happen? You will have muscle pain, you won't be able to do anything. Okay, so pathophysiology, again if I have to revise, when there is a subnormal level of hemoglobin, the oxygen carrying capacity will fall. Because of this, a compensatory mechanism will start. In this, what will happen? The body will release more oxygen from the hemoglobin. Okay? And then this oxygen that is released will go to the tissue. So the tissues will get more and more oxygen. Now, the body has to maintain the adequate blood volume. This blood volume will be, for example, just remember this. 5 liter blood we need. In this, if there is a trauma, we lose this much. The body will have to make this much again. So that helps in maintaining the body volume, the blood volume. Then redistribution of blood flow to maintain the cerebral blood supply. So this is the compensatory mechanism. If in case this fails, all this thing the body did to prevent itself, and still this fails, then tissue hypoxia will happen. This tissue hypoxia will affect the heart, the brain, and the muscles. Okay. Now we need to know there are 4 main factors as to why anemia starts developing. Okay. The first thing is the speed of onset of anemia. Now you see, the best example are our grandmothers. So when we are very young, our grandmothers are very healthy. They do a lot of physical activity at home. They help you. They play with you. But as you grow up, your grandparents become even more older, and then they don't have that much energy. They're very tired. So in this, what happens? Especially in females, there is anemia. Especially in old age, what happens? The hemoglobin starts falling. And so these are the signs and symptoms. They are weak, they are tired. So why I have given this example is, there is a speed of onset of anemia, rapidly progressive. What are rapidly progressive anemia? Now what is rapidly progressive anemia? If in case you have a blood loss, rapid progressive means you have lot of blood loss. Example is during surgery or due to accident. What will happen during this? Lot of blood is lost. So what will happen? Automatically hemoglobin will come down, and this happens very rapidly. Okay, but the example of a grandmother that I have given, in this, due to old age or in menstruating female, slowly hemoglobin comes down. Okay, slowly hemoglobin comes down. So what do you understand by this point is, hemoglobin is lost more rapidly during surgery or accident, but very less in old age and menstruating female. So this is one point. The speed is the first point, how we are going to lose hemoglobin. The second point is the severity of anemia. Mild anemia will produce no symptoms and no signs. Lot of us in your class also, if you check, if I have to do a hemoglobin test of 10 or 20 people, you will come to know that at least 2 people have less hemoglobin, but they have no symptoms. They play with you, they can go for a long race, for marathon, but still have no symptoms. Okay, so mild anemia will produce no symptoms and signs because of the compensatory mechanism which we already studied. The hemoglobin is less than us, like 0.1 or 0.2. Even if it's less, they're still able to function like normal human being because of the compensatory mechanism we saw earlier. Okay, so but in rapidly developing severe anemia, when the hemoglobin is less than 6, see, this is very less. In adult males it was 13, and in females it was 11.5. From that to 6, if it comes, then what happens? You have anemia. When your hemoglobin is so less, then definitely you have anemia. Okay, the age of the patient. Younger patients will do better. Younger patient, even if they have anemia, they can very well manage. Okay, but an older person, when they have anemia, they will have cardiac or brain symptoms. Okay, then hemoglobin dissociation curve. We had previously seen oxygen dissociation curve. Now there is something called the hemoglobin dissociation curve. It is the same. Why it is the same? Because remember when we had made this graph, you had the oxygen saturation over, you had the saturation here, the hemoglobin saturation was here, and the O2 partial pressure of oxygen was here. So hemoglobin dissociation curve and oxygen dissociation curve is the same thing. Now what happens in anemia? The affinity for hemoglobin for oxygen is depressed by this. Remember, we had discussed the factors which can cause right and left shift. In that I had mentioned 2,3 bisphosphogluconate. In that, you know, if in case it is more or less, you can have a shift. So if it is less, then you have a left shift. It is high, then you have a right shift. Okay, so here also, as a result, the hemoglobin is dissociated more readily if you have this, if there is depression of this particular factor. Okay, so you have the shift to right. Now this is the normal one, this is the normal one. Now it will shift towards right side. Okay, right side will start shifting. Okay, so hemoglobin dissociation curve in anemia, the affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen is depressed, that is, it is lessened because of 2,3 BPG in the red cell increases. As a result, oxyhemoglobin dissociation happens more readily to release lot of oxygen for cellular use. So because it is shifting towards the right, what will happen? Lot of oxygen is released, and all this oxygen will go to the tissues or the muscles. Okay, now remember this diagram. When you have an oxyhemoglobin, what happens? Everything is tightly, oxygen comes and fills this space. This is your heme, so oxygen comes and fills this space, and then when the oxygen is given off, when the oxygen has to be given off, the shape changes. This is the deoxygenated hemoglobin. Okay, so these are the two differences. So initially, during this curve, when the curve is starting, you will have deoxygenated hemoglobin. Okay, starting of the curve, you will have deoxygenated hemoglobin. This oxyhemoglobin will be here when you are at the top. Okay, so deoxygenation start at the bottom and it becomes oxygenated at the top. Now coming to the symptoms. It's a very important question. In mostly everyone will ask you, what are signs and symptoms? Symptoms are what the patient will tell you. These are usually in very layman terms, like আজি গা বেয়া হৈছে মোৰ, আজি কাহ হৈছে, নহলে বুকুৰ বিষ হৈছে, all these things that a layman person uses. Now if a doctor has to explain, what he'll say, you have a headache, you have a stomach ache, or you have a chest pain. So we use these kind of words. So when you're using like chest pain, myocardial infarction, or unconsciousness, all these kind of medical terms that we use to describe something, that is signs. Okay, so symptoms. Here the symptoms are, I have shown you a picture. A person here is tired. Okay, easy fatigability means if she even gets up to do something, she'll become tired very soon and she'll come back to rest. Okay, so tired, easy fatigability, you'll have muscular weakness, you'll have lethargy and headache. Okay, and then in older patients you can also have cardiac failure, angina pectoralis is chest pain, intermittent claudication, some kind of confusion and visual disturbances. Okay, so remember these symptoms. So in this diagram, in this image, you can see she has fatigue, so she has low energy. Her heart rate is increased. Why her heart rate is increased? If you remember the oxygen and carbon dioxide co-transport, in that what had happened, you had the reticulocyte. This reticulocyte will go to the circulation, and when they go to the circulation, you have immature RBCs. These immature RBCs will become mature RBCs, and these mature RBCs still cannot, they don't carry that much oxygen. Okay, so what will happen? This will go to the heart. When it goes to the heart, what will happen? Then it will go to the lungs. Okay, and here what will happen? Lung will give off oxygen, will give off carbon dioxide and will get oxygen. So this oxygen, when it enters, it will go to the tissues. It goes to the tissues, and the body functions. Now if there is anemia, in anemia what will happen? The oxygen carrying capacity of the mature RBCs will fall. If it falls, what will happen? The heart will have to function more, because all the hemoglobin that is coming inside has less oxygen. So the heart has to pump to get oxygen from everywhere so that the body can function. Because of this, what will happen? Your heart rate will increase. Thuk, 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 the heart rate will increase. Okay. Then you have shortness of breath. Shortness of breath means small thing, like when you, like for example, if you have someone like a friend of yours and both of you have taken the stairs, you can easily climb the first floor without having shortness of breath. Okay, but someone else who is of the same age of yours, when he climbs up a first floor, he'll start having shortness of breath. So in that case, what happens? When you are you can see that the person can have anemia. That person can have anemia because you are doing the same activity. Two people, two healthy individual who are doing the same activity, one is able to perform properly and the other one is not able to perform properly, means he has some issues. In here, he has anemia. Okay, then you have headaches, you'll have dizziness and chest pain. Okay, now I have given you another example. Here you can see from head to toe what and all changes will happen. In red, these are all severe anemia. Okay, so keep the severe anemia for the later version when you revise. So from head, what will happen? In the brain, you will have fatigue, dizziness. Okay, then coming down to the eyes. In the eyes, you will have yellowing. Why you have yellowing? Yellowing means you will see jaundice appearing. Now, if you have studied the bilirubin pathway, you will come to know how old hemoglobin and ruptured hemoglobin or abnormal hemoglobin will become bilirubin. This bilirubin will have to be filtered, processed for the excretion. It has to be thrown out of the body, or even if it's recirculated to the body, it has to keep functioning without causing any problem to the adult human being. But during this process, if something happens wrong, like the bilirubin still goes inside the body and it's stored, a lot of bilirubin stored in the body, because of that you can have yellowing. In the later version, in the later topics, I'll explain to you how this yellowing happens. Okay, so we have finished the head, we have come to the eyes. In the eyes, we have finished yellowing. And if you check the skin, so head to toe, when we come to the skin, you can see paleness, cold and yellowing. Okay, so what does paleness means? This is your hand, and if you keep an anemic patient's hand nearby, you will see this is very yellow or it's very, very white. Okay, and they are very cold. If you touch them, their hands and feet will be very, very cold. Okay, because they are getting less oxygen supply to the peripheral parts. Peripheral parts are your hands and legs. So less oxygen, so they are very, very cold. Okay, and then so we have finished the head, eyes and the skin. Now coming to the blood vessels. Now when you see the blood vessel, when you're checking the pulse in the hand, you'll come to know that the blood pressure is very low. You're not able to feel the pulse properly. Okay. You're not able to feel the BP, but the pulse is going to be high. Why the pulse is high, I already explained you. Okay, so you need to know here the BP, the blood pressure will be low, but the pulse will be high. Okay, and then coming to the heart. In the heart, what will happen? You'll have palpitation, you'll have rapid heart rate. Sometimes in older patients, you can have chest pain, angina and heart attack. In the lungs, you will have shortness of breath, muscular weakness will be there. In intestine, you will have changed color of the stool. Why this happens is because when this also will come in the bilirubin pathway. Okay, what happens in bilirubin pathway? The bilirubin will be broken down into bile, and that bile will become stercobilinogen. That stercobilinogen will be released in the feces. If in case a lot of bilirubin has been excreted, your stool will become dark in color or green in color. Okay, so that's why this is change in the stool color. Then in the spleen, in the spleen what will happen? There's enlargement of spleen. Why the spleen enlarges? Because now when you have in severe anemia, what happens? In severe anemia, hemoglobin becomes less. Okay, hemoglobin becomes less, oxygen carrying capacity becomes less. Because of this, what happens? The kidney will start making lot of erythropoietin. This erythropoietin will go to the bone marrow. Okay, when it's, sorry for the ugly bone diagram, it goes to the bone marrow. It will start making lot of myeloid progenitors. This myeloid progenitor will start making lot of erythrocytes. Okay, lot of erythrocytes will be formed. But because the process is so high, these erythrocytes will be like 60% are immature and 40% are mature. Okay, so what happens because of this? Most of the immature cells, what will happen? If they don't become mature, these are useless. Then what will happen? This will all go to the spleen. The spleen will have to work a lot. Lot of RBCs will die over here. So because it is working a lot, there will be enlargement of the spleen. Okay, the spleen enlargement will be there because the RBCs that are made are not able to function. So they are waste RBCs. So all the waste that happens, it has to go to the spleen, and this spleen, because of overactivity, will become big. So this is the enlargement of spleen. Okay. Now coming to the signs. I have given diagrams. I have given images along with it, so you can see these images and have a visual memory. So whenever you check a patient, if you see these findings, this means you can tell the patient he has anemia and you can start treating it. Now signs. The first foremost is pallor. What is pallor means? There is a change in the color of the skin. Okay, it becomes either becomes very pale. What do you mean by pale? It is like yellowish but very light yellowish. Dark yellow means jaundice. Okay. Now see, for example, I have given the image of the hand. You can see the palms. A normal palm will have a little pink color because it is oxygenated. Blood is flowing through, or because of that reflection, you can see a little pink color. So this is normal palm. But pale palm you will have because there is less oxygen coming. So there is less oxygen coming into the arms and legs. So you have a very yellowish, light yellowish color of the skin. Okay. Then you can see pallor in the eyes. So when you pull the eyes below, when you pull the lower eyelid down, if you see this particular area has lot of blood vessels and it's very pink, this means there is no pallor and the patient is healthy. But if you again pull it down and if you see very less blood supply to here and it's very less pink, then it means pallor, and that is seen in anemia. Okay, and we also check the tongue. In the tongue, what and all you will see, a normal patient's tongue, you will see it is very pink in color and you can see all these white spots. These white spots are known as papillae and they help as taste buds. Okay, so this is a normal tongue. But in pallor, what will happen? You see the color. It's a very dull kind of color. So this you will see in anemia. Okay. Then coming to the color of the nails. Now, color of the nails, there are a lot of nail changes that will happen. You can have spoon-shaped nails. Means, if you see a nail, for example, this is your finger and this is your nail. Normally, a nail is like this. Okay. Normally, a nail is little like this. It is little curved, if you can see. Okay. But in spoon-shaped nails, what will happen? This curve is not there. It will become like this. It will become like this. Okay. So this is spoon shape. Okay. So this spoon shaped things, spoon shaped nails are seen in anemia. And other changes is brittle. Your nails will not have this shine. The nails will usually have some kind of shine. No, there won't be any shine. It won't be smooth. It will be very rough and very brittle. Means it can break off very easily. Okay. Then around the mouth you can see angular stomatitis. What do you mean by angular stomatitis is you can, in the angles of the mouth you can see small wounds. Okay, so this is angular stomatitis. Okay, you can see like this, angular stomatitis. Atrophy of the papillae of the tongue. See here what will happen, this is a normal tongue. See, we have already seen a normal tongue over here. In this normal tongue, what you see a lot of white spots. Okay, so these are papillae. But here in glossitis, what happens is you see the color, it has become strawberry red. Okay, and it is very shiny. Okay, usually tongue is not shiny, but if you see a very shiny tongue which is strawberry red in color, this means this is your atrophy of the papillae of the tongue. Okay, this is also known as glossitis. Okay, now the central nervous system. In the central nervous system, because the brain is getting less oxygen, the blood that goes to the brain has less hemoglobin, so has less oxygen. So because of that, what happens, you'll have faintness, giddiness, headache, tinnitus. Tinnitus means a ringing noise in the ear. Okay, drowsiness, numbness, tingling sensation of the hands and legs. Okay, in gastrointestinal tract, what will happen, you can have anorexia. Anorexia means when a person, voluntary or involuntary, reduces his meal consumption. In anorexia, what happens? People will stop eating, or whatever they eat they are not able to digest, so they take it out. Because of that, what happens? The person will become very thin, undernourished, malnourished. Okay, so gastrointestinal system, what you'll have, these patients will have anorexia. If anorexia can be there, they can have flatulence, they can have constipation, they can have nausea, they can have vomiting, and because of this they can have weight loss. Okay, then come to cardiovascular system. In cardiovascular system, what happens, you have tachycardia, cardiomegaly, dyspnea on exertion. Okay, so what is tachycardia? Tachycardia means when you check the pulse will be very high. Okay, it just keeps going, it's very high. Okay, and then cardiomegaly means the heart, that is normal heart. Sorry, this is not the original diagram for the heart, just for explanation sake I am putting this, but this is the real medical diagram of a heart. So just to finish the class earlier and not waste time on drawing, I am just giving this small example. So this is normal heart. In cardiomegaly, what happens, the heart increases in size. Why this happened again? This happens again because the heart is functioning more. So the size is increased. And dyspnea or exertion means you have breathlessness. Breathlessness is say when you do some work. For example, when you climb stairs. So climbing stairs is if you climb first floor, second floor, you can climb very easily without having any shortness of breath. But it can increase when you go to third or fourth floor or fifth floor. This is very normal. But what if a person who has climbed only the first floor has become completely he cannot breathe, he's starting to take a lot of air inside. You see, what happens when you climb a lot of stairs. So if in case someone has only in the first floor itself, so that is dyspnea. Dyspnea means shortness of breath on exertion. Okay, so ocular manifestation. What is ocular manifestation? Means changes in the eye. You can see icterus or jaundice. So there is yellowing of the sclera of the eye. Okay, and retinal hemorrhages. What is retinal hemorrhages? So when you check the retina, you will see lot of blood vessels, lot of hemorrhaging you will see. Okay, so in the eyes you can see jaundice or you can see retinal hemorrhages. Now we have finished cardiac. Now coming to the reproductive system. Now what are the signs a female can have when she has anemia? She can have amenorrhea. Amenorrhea means no menstrual bleeding or less menstrual bleeding. Menorrhagia means very high menstrual bleeding. Because of these two factors, what can happen? You can have changes in the hemoglobin and changes in the oxygen. Okay. Loss of libido means the sexual tendency has also decreased. Okay. Then renal system. In renal system, what will happen? You can have proteinuria or impaired concentrating capacity of the kidney. Now kidney is very important for RBCs. Why? Because kidney will form erythropoietin. So if I can, I'll try to zoom this because the image has been printed very small. So what happens? A healthy kidney will make healthy erythropoietin. This erythropoietin will go to the bone marrow and make healthy will make healthy RBCs, will have healthy hemoglobin and healthy oxygen. This is the normal thing. But if in case there is any disease of the kidney, what will happen? You'll have less erythropoietin, so you'll have very immature RBCs. These immature RBCs will have less hemoglobin and less oxygen carrying capacity. Okay. Then rectal examination. Why rectal examination? See, a lot of patients who have anemia also have something called piles. Piles is a very common generic term. In medically it is known as hemorrhoids. So in these patients, what happened? The rectal skin, the skin here, the rectal skin will start coming out. Okay, so that is known as hemorrhoids. So what happens? As say, when they are normally inside, they are well protected, but when they come outside, so because they are exposed to an outside environment, it will start there will be a lot of bleeding because of that. Okay, so on contact, like if they wear tight innerwears and they keep a lot of people who have piles are unable to sit. Why they are unable to sit? Because when they sit, the entire pressure will come and the entire pressure will be on the hemorrhoids that are coming outside. So when they are sitting for long, what will happen? So there will be friction. Because of the friction, there can be bleeding. So a lot of patients who have anemia will also have piles, and because of that, because they are losing blood, they are also anemic. Okay. Now other factors we have to see, like when you send the patient for USG, what will happen? You can have hepatomegaly. Hepatomegaly means large liver. Okay. Splenomegaly means large spleen. Lymphadenopathy, you have lymph nodes. Okay. So normally when you just touch your neck, you will not find anything. It is a very smooth structure, you don't find anything. But if you feel something round or a ball like thing, this means your lymph node has enlarged. Lymph nodes can enlarge due to infection or during if there is any cancers. So at that time what happens? These can become big. And bony tenderness. What is bony tenderness? If a doctor does any reflexes, if the doctor is checking for any reflexes and the patient says, no, it's hurting a lot, I cannot do. So that is bony tenderness. That when you flex, like if you take the hand and if you're trying to flex the hand and I have pain over here. Normally I don't have, but just on the small movement, if I start having pain, this means I have bony tenderness. There is some problem of the bone. Okay. Now the and we'll have to come to the investigations. Now the patient has come to us, the patient is coming and telling us that I have so many symptoms. Then you are asking questions to see what and all signs he has. We are doing the examination. After examination, we have to write some investigation. Okay, what are the investigations that we will be writing? Are hemoglobin estimation. We need to know how much hemoglobin the patient has. Then we have to check the blood phlegm. Why we check the blood phlegm is there are multiple reasons why hemoglobin can be less. First thing, the hemoglobin can be less because there is any parasite like malaria or hookworm infection. Because of these, what happens? The hemoglobin comes down. So we can easily see that in a glass slide, in a blood phlegm we can see that. Okay. we'll check the red cell indices. What are the red cell indices? We have MCV, MCH, MCHC. These values will be checking. We'll also check WBCs, we'll check platelets, we'll check the reticulocytes. Now reticulocytes are normally also present in the body, but in a very small quantity. Normally they are present. But if in case lot of reticulocytes are present, what do you mean? This means there is any bone marrow problem. So in that what happens, you have lot of reticulocytes. Then erythrocyte sedimentation rate. A practical of all this will be discussed by your faculty teachers. So you have any doubt as to what these processes are, just let me know. I will try to send you a video so you come to know what investigations we do and how these are done. Then you do a bone marrow examination. See, if in case someone has anemia, the first thing we check is hemoglobin, peripheral blood smear. After that only we check bone marrow. So never say bone marrow first. We always check hemoglobin and peripheral blood examination. After that only in the last option we do bone marrow. Okay. Then see, most of the time when you go to a doctor, if you say that you are very tired, you are unable to concentrate, you have hemoglobin, we are unable to concentrate, you are having headache. So the doctor will be like, okay, you might have anemia. So they write you a test called the CBC or the complete blood count. What are the things that come inside this test called complete blood count? Hemoglobin comes inside, red cell count. How many red cells are there in your body? Will come to know. Then the red cell indices, MCHC, MCV, MCH, the packed cell volume, the WBC count, then differential count. Means this total number of WBC will be differentiated into how many neutrophils are there, lymphocytes, eosinophils or basophils are there. Then how many platelets are there and the red cell distribution width. Okay. So if you have a blood report, if you have ever done a blood test, you can check your reports and you can see what are the values that you have. Now, this is a small chart that I have given just for your understanding. Last minute revision if you have to do. So you can see this. Okay, in this if you see, the lab investigation starts with first is your complete blood count. In complete blood count, what you will see, the things that I had already told you. You will see the blood cells, you will see the WBCs, you will see the platelets, how many are there, all these things. I have discussed this previously. Okay. Then you will see the reticulocyte. Then you will check how much iron is there. Okay. Iron can be checked by checking serum iron, the total iron binding capacity, serum ferritin, and how much iron stains are there in the blood, in the bone marrow. Okay. And then we do is the bone marrow examination. Okay. So the general investigation, if you have to make a flow chart, what investigation you will do? You will do a blood count, you will check the reticulocytes, you will check the iron, you will check the marrow. Okay. Then hemoglobin estimation. Now hemoglobin estimation, now one by one I will be discussing the investigations. Okay. These in short only I will be discussing, but you need to know why we are doing it. Okay. So hemoglobin estimation is the first point. This is the first and foremost investigation done in any case of suspected anemia. The methods are Sally's method and sign meth hemoglobin. Okay, Sally's method is done manually, but sign meth hemoglobin method is the computed automated machine. Okay, so in this, you can check over here. This is a Sally's acid hematin method. In your lab, I will ask our pathologist to show you this. In this, you can see this is a Sally's hemometer. Okay. In this, you can put the blood and check how much hemoglobin you have. Okay. So these are the reagents that are used. The reagents that are used are, you have N by 10 HCl, okay, then you have distilled water and you have some amount of blood, patient blood or your blood if you are going to check, you are taking and we do this. Okay, in this what you are going to see is, you see this color, right? This color that you see on the sides, this is for comparison. Okay, this is for comparison. And in this pipette you will put the blood. We will try to compare the blood and this color. Okay, even once they are the similar color, you will keep diluting blood. Okay, when the blood and this color are same, that time you will take out the pipette and you will see the value in the pipette, and that is how you will come to know how much hemoglobin you have. Okay, so these, I'll ask your faculty whether these are done for you all. If it's done for you all, practically it is very interesting to see how much hemoglobin one person can have. Okay, then this is sign with hemoglobin method. It's a very advanced method, and this is what we are using in lab settings, because in lab we are seeing lot of patient report, we are seeing lot of patients, and we have to send a lot of reports. Doing all these things manually will take a lot of time, but by a machine it's very easy, it is very quick. Okay, so here I have given you and in this method we use a particular solution called the Drapkin solution. This is a very important MCQ question. Okay, Drapkin solution. So Drapkin solution will have potassium cyanide, potassium ferricyanide, non-ionic detergent, potassium dihydrogen phosphate, and distilled water. So you need to know the composition of it. Okay, so this is the machine. This is the machine that you can see in the labs. Okay, so you put a pipette, this pipette, in this pipette you will have the solution as well as the blood. So it will start rotating and then it will give its value. Okay, then we do a peripheral blood film. What does a peripheral blood film means? You take this, I remember in that bone marrow aspiration video you had seen that they have put blood in the glass slide and they just swiped it. So when they swipe it, you have this particular shape is known as a smear. Okay, so in the peripheral blood smear, what we do is we use dyes for fixation. That is the Romanowski dyes we use. These dyes are your Leishman dyes or Gemsa stain or Leishman stain or Jenner Gemsa stain or Wright stain. Okay, so when you put blood, now if we take, this is a glass slide. Okay, in this glass slide you put some amount of blood. Okay, and then you put another glass slide and you are smearing it. Okay, you smear it. Okay, now what happens, you have to air dry it. You have to just keep it outside for a little while, it will become dry. After you air dry it, you put some air. After air drying, you will have to fix this. Now if you see under the microscope, if you don't fix it, the microscope can cut some part out of it, so it is useless, right? So you have to fix this. So fixing, we use Romanowski's dyes. These Romanowski dyes are also known as stains. Okay, so in that you have Gemsa stain, you have Leishman stain, so different types of stains we use. So after staining, this becomes fixed. Fixed means this becomes like this. From this it becomes this. Okay, and this is what you see under the microscope, because this color is very important. This will stain your WBCs, WBCs, RBCs and platelets. Because they are able to dye, you can see the shapes, the morphology, everything under the microscope. Okay, so I've just shown you the steps how to make slide. Okay, blood smear, how to make it. First is to drop the blood on the slide, then you hold the spreader. Spreader is another glass slide that you will use to you will have to move the blood up and down to make a smear. Okay, now pull the spreader over the drop so that it spreads. Okay, and then push the spreader firmly, and this is how the smear is made. If you want, I can send you a video of this, how blood film is made. It's not I don't think so it will come as a practical for you all, but if it does come, we'll teach you how to do this. Our pathologist will teach you how to make blood films. Now, what are the characteristics of a good smear? In a good smear, what in all you have to check? See, when you make a smear, these are the part of a smear. You have something called the body of the smear and the tail of the smear. And when you, in the microscope, if you have to check, you don't check in the body area, you don't check in the tail area. You check in this area. This is known as the zone of morphology. Only in this area you will see under the microscope what and all you will see. You will see platelets, WBCs, RBCs, monocytes, all these different type of cells will be seen in this area. Okay. Now, in this particular slide I have shown, this is very, very important. Okay. Why it is important is because I have tried to explain you the shape and the functions of these cells. Okay. So how the WBC looks, so sorry, the RBC is how it looks in the microscope. Okay, in the microscope, and if you see, you can see the center area is pale, but the outer area is pink. This is a normal RBC. This is because of the shape. It's a discoid shape. No, it has a small dip. So because of that, you have a central paler. Okay. Then platelets. You see, platelet is so small. So the smallest cell that you see is a platelet. Okay. So a platelets are they are irregularly shaped. They are some irregularly shaped and have no nucleus. These will also have no nucleus. Okay. Then the WBCs. How we will identify what is what type of WBC? In neutrophils, you can have multi-lobed. These are called lobe. Okay. So multi-lobe, if you see, it is neutrophil. What is eosinophil? Eosinophil have two lobes. Only two lobes it will have. So that is known as eosinophil. What is basophil? Basophil is kidney shaped, kidney bean shaped. Okay. Then you have monocyte. Monocyte, how they look? Monocytes, they have a nucleus and they are grayish bluish in color. Okay. Then you have lymphocyte. How the lymphocytes will look? Lymphocytes are they have round nucleus. Okay. Here you can see in monocyte you have a kidney bean nucleus, but in lymphocyte you have a round nucleus. Okay, so this is a difference. Now coming to the next topic. Now why do we check the blood films? We check the blood films for various topics. Now we will see why we are checking the blood films. What are the changes we can see? Number one is variation in the size. What is variation in the size? It is also known as anisocytosis. Anisocytosis means you remember the size, right? The size of the RBCs, 7.2 and 2.1, 2.2. So the diameter and circumference were discussed last class. So if there is any difference in the size of these in these RBCs, that is known as anisocytosis. This anisocytosis can either be macrocytosis or microcytosis. Means increased in RBC size is known as macrocytosis and decrease is known as microcytosis. Okay. So where and all you can see macrocytes, you can see in megaloblastic anemia, aplastic anemia, and in chronic diseases, liver disease. Microcytes you can see in iron deficiency anemia, thalassemia, spherocytosis, and hemolytic anemia. Okay, and sometimes you can see both. See here, if you see this diagram, you will see that this is the normal cell. Okay, so this is your macro, sorry, this is your micro and this is your macro. Okay, so you can see different the shapes. Okay, but in one blood film, if you see both of them, that is known as dimorphic. Dimorphic means both the shapes are seen together. Okay, that is seen in some cases of sideroblastic anemia. Okay, now second point, why we have to check blood films are because if there is any change in the shape of the RBCs. Okay, if it's not discoid shape but it is of different shapes, that is known as poikilocytosis. Now poikilocytosis can be seen in megaloblastic anemia, iron deficiency anemia, thalassemia, and hemolytic anemia. Okay, now these poikilocytosis are produced due to abnormal erythropoiesis. Means in the bone marrow, when the blood cells are being formed, if there is any problem there itself, all the manufacturing RBCs will be wrong. So for example, see, Maruti is making an Alto. Okay, in manufacturing firm, what happened? They forgot to put the steering wheel. If they forgot to put the steering wheel, what all the models that is coming after that will also become without the steering wheel. So for example, in this example you can see that in the bone marrow, if in case the shape of the RBC is not correct, what will happen? All the cells coming after that will also not have proper shape. So that is known as poikilocytosis. Okay. Then third point why we check is if there is inadequate hemoglobin formation. What is inadequate hemoglobin formation? Also known as hypochromasia. Hypo means less, chromatia means color. Okay, so normally the intensity, now if you normally see all this staining, if you normally see what the color, you have a pink color on the outside and you have pale color in the center. Okay, so normally the intensity of pink staining of hemoglobin is stained in a stained blood smear gradually decreases from periphery to the center. That means the periphery is more pink, and when you come to the center it becomes more paler. Okay, so increased central pallor, if in case you see a cell and the pallor inside has become more, so this is known as hypochromasia. Means hypo means less, chromatia means color. So less color in the center means hypochromasia. This can be seen in iron deficiency anemia, it can be seen in chronic infection, it can also be seen due to thinness of the red cell, which happens in thalassemia and sideroblastic anemia. If the ulta of hypochromasia is known as hyperchromasia. Hyperchromasia means what happens? The cells are very pink. We can see over here. In hypochromasia, what happens? You have pink only in the outside, but here it is all pink. Okay, but if you see a normal, in this, if you have to find what is a normal blood cell, it's very difficult to say, because here most of it is hypochromic. But here if you see this cell, this is a normal red blood cell, because you have more pink on the outside and the center is less pale. Okay, this is a normal RBC, and these are your hypochromic and hyperchromic. So hyperchromatic cells will be seen in megaloblastic anemia, spherocytosis and neonatal blood. Okay, now we have come to know the three important things why we check the blood films. Now, what is compensatory erythropoiesis? It's a very important topic. Why the process of blood formation, the erythropoiesis, why it has to compensate? Okay, so during this compensatory erythropoiesis, you will see a lot of changes. What are these lot of changes that you see? If the bone marrow is not functioning properly, you have polychromasia, means different colors. Erythroblastemia means the erythroblast will have a lot of changes. You have basophilic stippling. You will also have Hobel-Jolly bodies. Okay, so I'll zoom this thing a little bit. Okay, now compensatory erythropoiesis. Number of changes are associated with compensatory increase in erythropoietic activity. These are polychromasia, erythroblastemia, punctate basophilia or basophilic stippling, and Hobel-Jolly bodies. What is polychromasia? Polychromasia means there are more than one type of color of these red cells. Poly means multiple, chromasia means color. So there are multiple colors of the red blood cells. Polychromatic red cells are slightly larger, means they also are different color, but the shape is also bigger. Okay, what are different colors? They can be bluish gray. Okay, so these polychromasia cells are also known as reticulocytes. Okay, so the reticulocytes that we see in our body are usually bluish greenish in color. Okay, so polychromasia, the other name is reticulocytes. Okay, so reticulocytes are polychromatic cells because why they are? Because they are bluish grey in color, they are larger, and these don't have nucleus but only cell organelles. Okay, now erythroblastemia. Erythroblastemia means presence of nucleated red cells in the peripheral blood smear. Usually RBCs will not have nucleus, but if in case any RBC is having nucleus, this is known as erythroblastemia. Okay, so they are found in large number in hemolytic anemia. In hemolytic anemia you will see in extramedullary erythropoiesis. You can also see this in different types of anemia except aplastic anemia. In aplastic anemia you will not see erythroblastemia. Okay, and it also occurs after splenectomy. If you remove the spleen, then also you can see erythroblastemia. Then next point is basophilic stippling. Basophilic stippling happens in cases of aplastic anemia, thalassemia, myelodysplasia, infections and lead poisoning. What happens if you see the cell over here? This cell you have like the stippling is there. Okay, So this is known as basophilic stippling. Next is Howell-Jolly bodies. Howell-Jolly bodies are purple nuclear remnants. This you can see this purple color nuclear remnants with large basophilic cell. This is known as Howell-Jolly body. Okay, so this is present in megaloblastic anemia and after splenectomy. Okay, so remember these points. Okay, where it is seen, how it looks is a very important question. Okay, now there are a lot of other changes that are also seen in the red blood cells. They are mentioned in this big tabular column that I made. Okay, so you can see this. I'll try to zoom out.